What's up guys, in this video I'll be showing you guys how to improve your FPS in Rust. If you do enjoy the video, please make sure to go like and subscribe and follow my Twitch, which I'll link on screen now. Before we start the video, please keep in mind that these settings will give you the best performance, not the best graphics. First, we're going to start with our game options. Field of view should be set to 90 as this will give you the most in-game visibility. Best visibility should be on while streamer mode is off. Rich presence should also be off while nudity is on underwear. Hide signs should also be off and show blood should be off. Max Gibbs is a very important one. There's a big FPS boost by having this off, so make sure you guys have this all the way down to 0. Now, what turning Max Gibbs off actually does is it actually lowers the number of broken entities on screen, therefore it uses less RAM, which causes an increase in performance. Next, we're going to set our screen settings. First, we're going to set our resolution to 1920 by 1080 as that is the resolution of most newer gaming monitors. However, if this does not work for you, make sure to find your monitor's resolution and change it to that. I typically have my game on borderless mode, however exclusive mode gives the absolute best performance. If you guys are after that absolute best performance, make sure you're using exclusive mode. Borderless mode is a little bit easier, especially if you have like 2 monitors and you want to tab out to the other monitor without having to alt tab. That's why I use it. So yeah, if you want it to be easy to use, I'd recommend borderless. VSync can either be off or on. If you have a VSync compatible monitor and you get good FPS, I definitely recommend using VSync, but if not, then don't even bother using it. Our FPS limit should be set to 0 as this helps prevent frame stutter. And that'll be it for our screen settings. And now we can start on our graphics settings. The graphics settings are fairly self-explanatory in the fact that the lower the graphics settings are, the more FPS you're going to get. So pretty much all of these are going to be off except for the select few that I'm going to tell you in just a second. So the only graphics settings that shouldn't be set to 0 are shadow cascades, which will be set to no cascades. Draw distance, which will be set to 2500, which is the max, and tree quality, which will be set to 200. And that concludes the rest of our graphics settings. And now we can move on to our image effects and experimental setting. Anti-aliasing should be set to SMAA, and sharpen should be on, while the rest of our image effects should be left off. And that concludes our image effects. The experimental settings, which is the next page, we actually don't have to go over. All those should just be off and you'll get the best performance out of that. So that's all you need to know for experimental settings. Alright guys, now we're going to move on to some F1 console commands that can help you. So all you got to do to use the Rust F1 console, if you don't already know, is just open Rust and hit F1 and the console will open, and just enter these commands that I'll be showing you in a second. So our first F1 console command will be PERF1 or PERF2. PERF1 shows you your FPS, and PERF2 shows you your FPS and RAM usage. I always have PERF or Perf1 activated just so I can see what my FPS is at all times. Our next command is going to be Dev.Netgraph1, and I'll put the command on screen right now. What this command does is it shows you your latency and packet loss, so you're going to know if you're going to have network problems or anything. So if you're experiencing any kind of lag, you'll be able to know if it's on your end or on the server's end. Our next command is going to be the gc.buffer command, and in all honesty, I don't know what this one does exactly, but I do notice a boost between usually 3 to 8 FPS when I put this in. But yeah, I actually don't know what it does, but it gives me better FPS, so I'm not complaining. In my opinion, these are all the commands that will give you a noticeable effect on your FPS. And there's a lot of other commands that are super useful, and I actually made a video on it which actually just hit 10k views, so thank you guys so much for that. But I'll throw the link in the description to that video if you want to put in some more of these commands to make your gameplay experience just a little bit better. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the F1 console commands that can help increase your FPS. And lastly, we're going to kind of move on to my thoughts about what system specs you should have to play Rust to, best get your money's worth out of your PC and get the maximum amount of FPS out of the equipment that you have. So on screen now, I've actually just put the suggested system requirements and the minimum and the recommended system requirements. Honestly, the recommended one will probably get you maybe 60 FPS. I have a Ryzen 7 2700X and a 2060 with 32 gigs of RAM, and I usually get 70 to 80 FPS at all times. And sometimes if there's a lot of entities on the server and the server's been around for a month or so, I'll end up dropping to 40 to 50 FPS. So I definitely recommend you guys have at least 16 gigs of RAM, and make sure you at least have a Ryzen 5 or an I'd say like an i7 you might be able to get away with an i5, but yeah, i7, Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, anywhere in there. And for graphics card, I definitely have to recommend like a probably at least like a 1660 Ti. Honestly, I don't even know about Radeon, what you want to go for with that, but definitely at least like a 1660 Ti. Honestly, Rust is not a super like GPU heavy game, so you could probably get by with like a 1050 Ti. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend having for Rust. Again, make sure you guys have at least 16 gigs of RAM, or the game really will not be playable. It's really not going to be fun if you have less than 16 gigs of RAM. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the system requirements. That's about all the tips I have for getting better FPS in Rust. If you guys do have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe, and yeah, see you guys.